Well, we've heard from three schools today. That would be LSU, Ole Miss, and Missouri out of the gate today. And here is, Lane Kiffin.
So I didn't get to hear Lane. I heard the LSU man. I didn't get to hear the
Oh, you got
Lane.
to hear?
Yeah.
Here's a little bit of Lane.
We're going to go back over here on the left-hand side. Edgar.
Edgar Thompson, the Orlando Sentinel. You ready for another Nick Saban question? Sorry.
Sure.
There's been a lot of SEC coaches who came from that tree or worked for him at least, and with varying degrees of success. What aspect of the blueprint that so many are trying to implement is critical to have in your program? Like if there was one or two aspects.
Well, I did an interview the other day that went more in depth in this, and it really is amazing. You guys would know history better than me. I would doubt that there's ever been a coach in any sport, college or professional, that has so many people under him that are at major jobs. I mean, you're talking about top 25 jobs, and I don't know what we counted, 5 or 6 of them or something the other day when we counted all those guys that have been there, or even that were there just for the 3 years I was there, that were assistant coaches. So it really is amazing, not just for someone to produce coaches that people hire because they're trying to get the Alabama program, but for those to have success and to be at major places. It speaks volumes of how phenomenal a coach is. I think people take very different things from him, and I think you see that. I kind of think there's a difference when you look at offense and defensive coaches. I feel like when you look at the defensive coaches that leave there, usually like the Georgia blueprint, basically take everything and move it there. And because that's a big part about Alabama's program, whatever year you were there, the defense was the same and it hasn't changed for the most part. And I think the offensive head coaches leave, whoever, Billy or Sark or Locks, and the program looks a little different because they usually have their own offensive flair that they end up running. But I'm sure everybody probably takes, I would think, his organization, his commitment to the program, and try to model his discipline that he has within that.
That's probably the best answer he's ever given for anything. I didn't think about that. He has 7 guys in top 25 programs. I mean, that's basically 25% of all the, little over 25, more like 30% of all the coaches in the top 25 programs are just came from him. And you have to say, who else has done that? I'd like to know. I mean, I don't know. I have a lot of education from the Southeastern Conference. I don't know about Oklahoma when they were spinning off coaches at one time. You look at that's crazy.
Yeah. The main topic.
And the people. You look at Lane Kiffin's career was done.
Yeah, until
until he went there. Kiffin, excuse me, the coach at Texas.
Sark.
Yeah, he said basically the same thing, not as eloquently as, I can't believe I'm using that with Lane Kiffin said, but he basically said, hey, without Coach, I wouldn't be sitting here. It's amazing, really amazing. And then the people that have come to work for him, they're all former head coaches. I mean, they're all in the program. And it's amazing to me what he's done. It's just, and I ride around and think about, I talk way too much about that sometimes on this show.
Facts are stubborn things.
Yeah, but I mean, here's I'm a guy that grew up under Coach Bryant, friends with Coach Bryant. When I was 10, I was in a locker room, just me and him talking, as he asked for me to come sit with him. I mean, I grew up with Coach Bryant, basically, and I'm witnessing this. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. What made Coach Bryant was the times, in the turbulent times of the 60s in Alabama, and for him to be winning during all that and was amazing. And then the transformation that he did bringing African Americans in and never hitting a beat. And you talk about the people that are most loyal to Coach Bryant, it's those guys he brought in. You know, Ozzie Newsome and John Mitchell. And you interview those guys say something negative about Coach Bryant.
Wilbur Jackson.
Yeah, Wilbur Jackson and of course, Sylvester Croom.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Those guys, and they're all my heroes, so.
The main topic of conversation surrounding Lane Kiffin was the Portal King himself.
Go ahead, Michael.
Hey, Lane, Michael, CasaGrandeAL.com. Just wondering your philosophy on calling trick plays when you do them, and what do you remember about Nick Saban and his philosophy on that?
Well, like Kirby Smart used to say, sometimes you come up here and just end up talking about Alabama. So our first question somehow is about Nick Saban. So that's pretty usual. Trick plays, I don't know. I think kind of offense has evolved so much from where we used to be that in a way maybe you don't run as many because you know we're not quite the same as we used to be as far as setting things up as much because so much is about tempo and how we do things. So I would guess, you know, analytics on trick plays would show maybe we don't do as many as we used to. And Coach kind of was with trick plays, kind of like, you know, fake kicks. Like it had to be a discussion a lot of times right before. He would want to know that week what was in and why. And a lot of times you know, run it by him before. So. And if they worked, he was happy. If they didn't work, you got ass chewings.
That's right. And that's every head coach, though. That's just not Coach Saban. So, I mean, I've told the story before, but Mal Moore, Coach Bryant's the backside defensive end making all the tackles on the pitch on running the option, and he kept telling him Mal to run a reverse, and they ran a reverse, and the defensive end had gotten tired and didn't chase on that play, and right there to make the play for a big negative play, and Coach Bryant said, "I meant the other way." So, you know, it's you know, the head coach always is really a backseat driver, especially when you have a defensive mind like Coach Bryant was a defensive mind. And for the most part, and then Coach Saban's the same. So the offensive guys kind of got almost free reign. I don't believe it's as much as it used to be because they're still running the base Lane Kiffin system.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, when Coach Saban refers to they come in and learn our system.
Yes, and I think Enos
it changed when
Kiffin. Enos and Loxley, it changed it a little bit. And they're still using that type. I think it's a combination of those three guys' offense. Still at the end. And you know, it's going to be interesting to see what Maryland does with Enos is the offensive coordinator now, right. And Loxley's, of course, the head coach. And then you got Tagovailoa up there, so yep. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, and you know how they can perform up there. But you. And I think there will be more coaches coming out of Alabama to top 25 programs. I think this is not going to stop. We're right here.
One other Q&A, this time our own Drew DeArmond asked Lane Kiffin a question.
Coach Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. I know you had a lot of history with Charlie Weiss Jr. at Alabama and then with you at FAU. Talk about bringing him back to your staff at Ole Miss and the job he could do. And also, second part of the question, one of the portal additions, Michael Trigg, had a great spring, and talk about kind of your expectations for him.
Okay, I'll start backwards. Michael Trigg, very talented player. You know, again, another young one that just finished his true freshman year, had a really good spring game, done some really good things, and has a really high ceiling. But with all these portal guys, especially the younger ones, we got a lot of work to do with them to get them into our systems, not just offensive, defensive, and special teams, but culture-wise. So, you know, he's got a really high ceiling. We're excited to have him. And the first question was about Charlie Weiss. As I mentioned before, we've been fortunate to have really good players and really good assistant coaches. Jeff Levy did an unbelievable job for us. I'm sure he'll do a great job at his alma mater, Oklahoma. And Charlie has been with us been with myself two places before. I've always thought he was way ahead of the game, not just because he started young with his dad, but his mind is really unique and special, can really memorize things like no other. So we're excited to have him in there and be able to work with him and put together a really exciting offense.
Of course, the other place was at Alabama, and
You notice he avoided saying that.
yes, he did. Didn't want to get another Alabama question, but and his dad knows where to find the hot dogs in the box because of West Neighbors. So.
That's exactly where I was about to go.
Boy, that was a mistake. Reading a camel to the water trough. Oh, man.
But nonetheless, Lane Kiffin did had quite a bit to say about transfers and eligibility, and collectives. And I think collectives
is the problem.
Yep.
And I think the collectives are going to end up going away. Well, the way that what they're doing now. Some collectives are not. Some collectives are paying the current players for autographs and stuff like that, promoting that kind of stuff, guaranteeing them, to come to autograph sessions, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I thought the commissioner handled very well that question, and it's the same. We get the same answer, just different orders of what they think.
Yeah.
And from the commissioner to the congressman we've had on, the Senator Tuberville, we've had all the coaches, ex-coaches, they say the same thing. And I think so. I think it's coming down the pipe. The problem is anything the NCAA does, they're going to get sued. So they need legislation, and that's where it's going to go.
And their batting average isn't so hot right now.
Yeah, because there's no law. And then so if you make a law, and I think hopefully that come down the pipe. I'm cautiously optimistic from what I'm hearing. We'll see what happens.
So it felt like the message coming out from Commissioner Sankey was not exactly echoed by Lane Kiffin in terms of the collective.
Well, the second part, I think not only is here to stay until rules are changed, you're going to see more of it. So that wasn't just a novelty to go into the portal. Now you have with NIL, which you're seeing, which could have been easy to predict if you knew what was going to happen. Okay, now you have the portal at the same time as the NIL. So now, usually the portal was, I'm not happy because I'm not playing, so I'm going to leave. Now you have, I'm not happy, I'm not playing like I want to leave. Now you have, I'm a whole group that's going to be, I'm playing really well, I want to go make more money. So to me, you're going to see more people in the portal, and that's already started to happen.
And I think that's one of the things that will be addressed. I think that the collectives, I think NIL, as it was written up, the Olympic model of the NIL is here to stay. I think the rest of it there'll be some changes, even to the portal. I do think that you will not be able to just take $100,000 from this university one year and bounce around. Now, I'm not so sure what they'll do, but I think the heart is in the right place of what they're trying to do, and hopefully they'll be able to come up with something.
We'll hear a little bit from Brian Kelly, who made his opening remarks to his opening tenure here as the new head football coach at LSU. And speaking of LSU, T-Bob Hebert is going to come by for a visit here later on in the show. Also, we're going to talk a little college football playoff as well. Bill Hancock is here, and so he's going to sit down with us later on here in hour number one. So got a busy show on tap for you, and we are just getting out of the starting gate. So, well, this show is. We've been here all day long here on Radio Row at SEC Media Days. And a big thank you to all of our fine sponsors for allowing us to be here, including Woody Anderson Ford is our title sponsor here for hour number 1.
Yep, and man, the cars that Ford is making right now are unbelievable. Actually, I just ordered a new one. Won't be in for a while. And if you want a car,
and you can customize it.
Oh yeah, and so I'm getting a hybrid, the ones that kind of like power your house, but use gas too. So, but I think it gets 25 miles to the gallon on the highway.
Really?
It's F-150. It's just like the truck I have now. It's just it can be a generator too, which way the electricity is going, it might not be a bad thing to happen.
Let's go ahead and take our first time out. We'll continue here live from Radio Row, day 1 of SEC Media Days. Steve Moulton back here with you. Brian Kelly. There were a number of questions for Brian Kelly today. Which one was my favorite?
Coach, we're going to go right in front of me, about 3/4 of the way back, right here in the teal shirt.
Brian over here, josephgoodmanal.com. How much did the lopsided losses to Alabama play into the fact that you wanted to go leave Notre Dame for LSU?
That wasn't part of my decision making.
And that was pretty much it.
Rough question.
Mercy.
So did Drudy get to ask any questions?
Yeah, I played his question to Kiffin.
Okay, that was Drudy. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
One year he got a question to everybody.
Yeah.
He was like the only one asking any good questions. I think it was you and him.
I did ask a question to Coach Drinkwitz, but I'll get to that later on. Here's a few more Q&As with the new head football coach at Louisiana State University.
Hey, Brian, Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. I think I read this right, that Brad Davis is the only assistant you retained.
That's correct.
I wonder why you did that and what went into that thought process, and just what kind of coach you think Brad is and what he'll do with the O-line.
So Brad was the interim head coach, so I got a chance to see him in a different capacity, in much more of a, I would say, leadership capacity, where he got an opportunity to really touch all of the players, and I really loved his ability to reach players. And I felt like if he could reach all of those players, how well would he do with 15 to 18 players? Also, he worked for Sam, and I consider Sam Pittman one of the best, if not the best, offensive line coach in college football. And so he's been tutored under the best, played the position from Baton Rouge, just all those things together. And then my time with him and his want and desire to be part of LSU made it an easy decision for me.
Well, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory there, right?
Yeah.
I agree with him. Sam Pittman is an awesome coach. And, to me, you got to keep somebody around. I think they fired 45 different people, 41, I think the number was, inside the program. It's 41, 45 people.
Includes strength and conditioning.
Strength and conditioning, which I will never understand. He has the strength and conditioning coach has his own exhibit here.
Yeah, literally, it is right past the pillars. You see Tom Moffitt and his strategy behind strength and conditioning.
And won a bunch of national championships with a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
But that being said, we don't know what went on behind the scenes. I think he only had 1 year left on his contract, or 2 years, and maybe he wanted a commitment further than that. And if you're going to make a change, make it now, type of thing. I know it didn't hurt Coach Moffitt's feelings too bad because he got paid, and he was going to retire anyway. So,
a few more. There was a comment or two. Let's see if I've got the right one queued up from Coach Kelly.
Hey, Coach, we're going to go on the near left aisle, straight down the middle. Here we go.
Hey, Coach. Chris Marler, Saturday Down South. Most important question of the day. In your best Southern accent, what's the favorite or best food you've had since you moved to Louisiana?
Well, understand now I have a Boston, Midwestern, Louisiana accent now. So, it's 3 dialects into one. So it's no longer family. I got like all kinds of stuff to throw at you. So just be ready. The best, it's probably the crawfish etouffee is. I mean, I don't know how you top that. Now, I would say also the grilled oysters. If you haven't had grilled oysters, try that. That'll get your cholesterol level up really high quickly. That's pretty good too.
Well, I think that's the Alabama pronunciation of etouffee.
Hey, I was about to say, is that the Louisiana way?
Man, they can't do anything. I mean,
He got hammered for saying etouffee.
well, I don't think that's that big a deal. That's just me, though. I mean, anyway. It's
You know who can say etouffee the best? He's over there recording on his headset.
Oh, I thought
He talks about Baumhauer's.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it.
Yeah, that's.
Baumhauer's etouffee is good too.
Yeah, yes, it is.
There's actually some really good Cajun restaurants in Huntsville that have some good etouffee also.
Yeah, Baumhauer's.
But you go to Baumhauer's, you can get anything. You can get the etouffee. Your significant other can get a.
They're a sponsor tomorrow.
Yeah, no. So anyway, I was impressed with Brian Kelly, to be honest with you, the way he answered questions. I really was. I know he's caught a lot of grief, and we're going to find out more. He's still in his honeymoon period. We'll see how he does coaching. He will have some talent, but it's inexperienced. So we'll see how he gets started.
One other answer at least made Twitter dance a little bit. It was this one.
Hey, Glenn Gilbo at Outkick.com. Having been at Notre Dame for quite a while, would you be surprised if they joined a conference, or do you think they'll stay independent, and just what do you think of their philosophies toward that?
It's probably not been high on my list of things to think about. I've been trying to correct a slice for the last couple of weeks, and I haven't had much success with that, so I'm going to go back to my day job. But I would say that, certainly Notre Dame still is, a coveted, university in terms of, what conference would want them. Jack Swarbrick knows what he's doing. He's got his ear to the ground. They're going to land into a good position no matter what they do, whether they stay independent or whether they go into the one of the other conferences. Notre Dame can carry itself pretty good.
The answer of been working on my slice is the part of the answer.
Well, I don't know what he's on vacation.
That LSU fans took umbrage to.
That's stupid.
Yes,
because
they are allowed to go play golf.
Yeah,
they are allowed. Everybody is allowed to go play golf.
I mean, it's their vacation time. All the players. Oh man, that's just crazy. So they're already getting them on stuff like that.
Yep.
If these people don't have enough they need to go play golf.
Work on their own slice.
Yeah, right. I mean, he takes 3 weeks, and then they work harder than anybody could ever dream. Not anybody, but it's harder than you would ever believe to work. I mean, they work 7 days a week for 6 months.
Yeah.
7 days a week.
Yeah.
And some days they're in at 5 and go home at midnight. So it's there's a lot of pressure to perform, and you're
big time.
Depending on 18-year-old kids for the most part to do it. Anyway, I had a good friend that was a coach, and he never made it to the big leagues, but he coached some smaller schools and was a head coach, and did good, and finally he just quit. And I asked him why he quit. He said, I just got tired of babysitting. I got tired of worrying about what my players were doing on a Friday or Saturday night, and
what problems am I going to wake up to tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, and being
woken up in the middle of the night.
He said basically I was a babysitter and the recruiting, and he finally just gave it up. And when coaching becomes a job, it's time to give it up.
Yeah.
So it has to be a passion and a love, or you can see the passion in these coaches like Harsin, well, the passion he has, you can tell.
Yeah.
Obviously, Coach Saban, Brian Kelly. I mean, he has a lot of passion for what he's done. He's just a different guy. He's raised different. And to me, he's a fish out of water down in Baton Rouge. But if he wins, nobody will care.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
So, but I think he's a heck of a football coach. You don't make the playoffs more than once. I mean, one time you can say have the right readership and you have everything come together. But you make it more than once, you're a good coach.
Coming up later on tonight, we will have the Home Run Derby. The Major League Baseball All-Star Game is setting up shop in Los Angeles at Dodger Stadium. Ronald Acuna Jr. is facing off against Pete Alonso, who has won the Home Run Derby in back-to-back years. That is the first-round opponent for Pete Alonso is Ronald Acuna Jr., and we'll have that coverage for you, courtesy of ESPN Radio. And, of course, we are also your home for the All-Star Game coming up tomorrow night. But preceding that, in case you missed it from earlier today, we'll have the full statement, at least the opening statement, and do as much as we can from the Q&A from Greg Sankey, who opened up Media Days earlier today. And we'll, if you missed any portion of any program, head over to our website, 977ESPN.com. You can listen to the 2.5 hours of talking ball that we had this morning, the 2.5 hours of the Tom Abraham Show. That's all over on our website. And be sure and download our app as well. Search 977 ESPN in your Google Marketplace or your Apple Store. Let's take our final time out. We'll be right back here as we continue along here. Hour number 1, day 1. I'm Steve Moulton. How you doing, sir?
I was in, where was I? Oregon. And somebody said, we have this quarterback named Herbert. And whoever I was with said, no, the name is Abear.
Dude, the best part about that is that became a bit on Seinfeld. There's an episode of Seinfeld where George is trying to, I think, entertain a woman with like a fun factoid, and he's like, the Saints have a quarterback, Bobby A. Bear, and he like goes through the whole thing, like it looks like he spells it out and everything. So it was always a cool piece of memorabilia. We used to actually have a Seinfeld signed script of that episode up at the house back in the day. The crazy part is my mom had never seen Seinfeld, ever.
Really?
Ever. Cultural phenomenon, right? The first episode she decided to watch was that episode. That's a true story.
How about that?
That's insane.
We used to have his dad on Son.
Yeah.
But you can't do subtitles on a radio.
Well, hey, that's rich coming from you. Okay? I mean, there's many different parts of the country that would be saying the same exact thing. But it's an old West Neighbors Southern drawl.
But no one can dance at a wedding like Bobby Abear.
Yeah.
That is true. We did both split our pants at my wedding. As a father-son claim to fame.
Hey, this is going to be a great interview because I'm not going to have to talk.
Nobody does when T-Bob's around.
I just like you gotta take the initiative with these guys, right? These Alabama guys.
I get to talk to them about 6 or 7 times a year, probably.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
And we've done this for 10, 12 years.
10
maybe?
years.
Wow.
10 years. So that's 60 interviews.
Yes.
Damn.
And we hadn't argued in a long time.
Now, Wes and I used to argue, Bobby,
He
a lot.
gets so. I mean, it's just.
He got on me, and then all of a sudden, he had an epiphany.
Yep.
And somebody said to him, "You need to be nice to Bill Hancock."
No, nobody ever said that. It's just respect.
He used to be so nice about LSU until LSU got good. Like when LSU was losing like 8 in a row, and like it was always, I really think they can do it this year. But then the second Joe Burrow comes along and they're an actual threat, well then all of a sudden
I went to every game.
Yeah,
with my LSU shirt on.
Yeah, exactly. But I know what goes on in your heart.
In my heart.
Yeah, I know what goes on there, dude.
Hey, listen, I've pulled for LSU 100 times, and you've never pulled for Alabama.
That is fair. That is fair. Even as a child, one time I went on the sideline for an Auburn for an Iron Bowl because my dad and Tuberville were close from back in the day, and so yeah, even then I had to watch Auburn players slamming their helmet against the bench because Sean Alexander was just out there murdering them.
Yeah. Sean Alexander was good.
He was
Yeah, he was good. He's a good guy, too.
I'd love to hear Bobby's experiences on the sideline at that age.
Oh, man, I was probably like 8 or 9 years old. It was insane. We got to run out with the team. We did the walk and everything. It was wild. Dude, I'd never heard cursing like that. Kind of freaked me out.
Where at the sideline?
Yeah,
of
just
Auburn
the
game?
sideline. I've never really heard like such casual use of the F word.
Welcome to college football.
Yeah. No, I mean, I learned.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've done 60 shows probably.
Right. Yeah. Easy.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of fun.
We have had a lot of fun. So.
And I'm so glad to see Wes.
Well,
I haven't
know.
seen him in a while.
Well, it's good to see
You're
you
looking
also.
great.
Thank you. So T-Bob was one of the guys. He was a senior or he was a junior when Connor was a freshman.
Yeah.
My youngest son went to LSU to play.
Smart kid.
One of the guys that was not only nice to my son, but kind of took me in too. Really, it was nice to me.
Cool.
No,
Because I was the Alabama guy, and at first it was kind of it was not a lot of trust there. But before it was over with, Coach Frank was Connor's coach, gave me the pass so I could watch Connor's practices and watch his drills.
That's wild.
Wow.
So and then you gave it to Connor's older brother. That's so wrong.
No,
dude.
I did not.
Yeah, that's what happened in 2011. You heard it here first.
Would
We
never
have
do
finally
that.
connected
You
the
know what I'm
dots.
saying?
Never do that.
No, absolutely. That's not what I'm about.
I
Yeah.
did read a crazy story about. Did you read that story about WikiLeaks, the Wake Forest guy?
Yes.
The Wake Forest color commentator was
Yes.
literally doing that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coach Frank's back at LSU. What a class guy he is.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
So is Connor.
Frank Wilson.
Yeah.
Speaking of class guy, Wes Neighbors.
Yeah, I mean, Connor's my favorite neighbors. I think he's the most intelligent. Having eschewed the evil empire for a more, kind of rebellious underdog sort of feel. I do, though. Look, my old man's always given me an appreciation of football history, and that's why I think I always gravitate towards the neighbors, because you can sell the neighbor's family very quickly, right? Like Grandpa, All-American center for the Bear. You played at Alabama. All the brothers, just everything. It's a really good football lineage.
Well, yeah, I mean, so it's very proud. He's here at the Hall of Fame. My father is.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, it's have a story I've told before. First time I came here when they moved it from South Bend to here, we were doing a show across the street at a restaurant. So I came up here to see what it was like, and right when I walk in the room, it gives me chills still this day. There was my dad staring back at me.
You didn't
the
know
first
it was
picture.
there.
No, I had no idea how to do it. The first picture in that room. So I watched. I mean, I stood there. I kind of got emotional.
Yeah.
Because he's been passed for 10 years now.
Damn.
So I started the show really to do the show, kind of pay homage to him after he died. I was going to do it for 4 months. That was 10 years ago.
Wow.
So kept walking, and then all of a sudden I see this guy I haven't seen since I graduated. He graduated. He's 2 years older than me, from Alabama. Graduated in 1984. And it's a Billy Getchell, who I'd played with from New York, from Yonkers, New York, who was a walk-on, made the team, ended up playing. And that's the reason I saw him. He had picked him. He wanted to see him.
Wow, dude.
Wow.
Anyway, I talked him into coming on the show.
Yeah.
But that's the reason I saw him. So
We were downstairs.
I felt a lot better then because I thought maybe
lobby.
I'd done something wrong.
Well, we've done shows from the football field, the lobby, and now we're up here on the second level.
Yeah.
Pretty soon we're going to put us up on the third
We did it
level.
in the basement from a couple years ago from the Omni. Basement of the Omni.
Yeah, that wasn't too good.
No. I like this a lot better. This is
better.
cool. This is cool.
When they told me it was going to be up here, I couldn't figure out how they were going to put everybody together, but it works out great.
Yeah, I think it
This is
worked
the
out
best
great.
venue I've ever been to, in like a media event,
Yes.
without a doubt.
Yeah,
It's
it really
awesome.
is.
Next year, this is going to Nashville. Is that right?
Is that what you've been told?
Don't quote me on that. Well,
We
maybe,
get that on.
I thought we got some breaking news. Yeah. Tweet it out.
maybe it was going to Nashville in the pandemic
It was.
year.
It was. Then
Okay.
Yeah. Then
Do
they
you
went
like
back to Hoover.
Do you like this better than Hoover?
Well, the
Hoover-
proximity of Hoover is very convenient for me.
Hoover
in
is
my
very
lifestyle.
sentimental
Yeah.
Yeah.
to me.
But I would have
karaoke
to. And
at
the first
Gabriel's.
time we came to Atlanta, I didn't like it at all. But this is, I got to say, so far,
Day
day
one.
one
Day
is a
one.
really cool setup.
Yep, I agree.
I
agree.
don't know how the zoo is going to be flocking in tomorrow for Bama Day.
Well,
But,
this
No?
is
No?
George's home field.
Oh, no, there's going to be a lot of him. I'm rolling my eyes because it's just the unwashed masses are coming, I suppose.
Wow.
So, Bill, tell us what's going on with the CFB. I mean,
Yeah, nothing new, right?
Nothing new. First of all, we do have 4 more years to go on this contract.
and it looks more and more every day like that's going to be, you're going to get 4 years.
Yeah, I think we will. And it's been really successful.
I agree.
It's been a great event.
Yep.
And people say, well, you got to do something because the same teams are in there every year. There's no guarantee that different teams would be in the semifinals
No.
if it expanded to 8 or 12.
Yeah.
So don't expand because of that. Expand because you want to give more opportunities to more young people to be in the tournament.
Absolutely.
And more parts of the country to be in the tournament. Not to get different teams in the semifinals. Don't do it for that.
Right.
Am I crazy? Or Commissioner Sankey today, when he was talking, he had one line about the disparity of resources. And it sounded very interesting to me, right? Because I guess in a perfect world, everybody would kind of want like the NFL model, right? Where every fan base feels like they have a chance, or as well, everybody makes more money in the end. Is there ever a world where y'all think they put like I don't know. It wouldn't be maybe it's a salary cap, but I mean, I don't know how you do it on the college level because all the money's coming from boosters and everything. But is there some world where they try to put like caps or even some of this stuff out, like facility-wise or anything?
Can you hear me shaking my head? No.
Yes.
To the radio audience. No, that's a really good thought, but this is not going to happen.
So
it feels like an impossible problem to solve.
Here's.
I'll say this, Wes. No one interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I don't usually interrupt you.
No, you're good.
There's always been disparity of resources.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Very true.
And maybe it's wider now. Maybe on a percentage basis. I'm not sure about that.
Here's what my big concern is, and I never thought Oklahoma, Texas would be in the SEC. Never dreamed USC and UCLA would be in the Big Ten. So I don't know where all this is going. My main concern is not the big schools, because they're going to be fine, always will be fine, with their boosters and their, the alumni with their money. They all love their universities, and it's just incredible. And I love the love and all that goes along with that. But my concern is the small schools. If all of a sudden nobody is playing them and they're not getting their 1.3 million, and these kids that have this opportunity that got looked over for whatever reason in high school that are going there, some very small percentage go to the pro, but all of them are getting an education and all of them are having the fun playing football.
Yeah,
that's where my concern is what's happening right now. That those teams. Now I don't mind going to a 9 game. I wouldn't want to go to a 10 game. Because that's cutting 14 teams. It's to be 28, but it's cutting 14 if they go to the 9 game. The guys getting the paydays. And I know how much having some of my sons coached at FAU. If they don't play Wisconsin that 1 year, they're gone. Their program is bankrupt. That's my concern, and I don't like where that's going. I think the more people playing the sport that learn the discipline of it and the different good things it has, and learning to play with it, to get along with your neighbor basically and play with him. And I played every game really, really hard. I wasn't a very good practice player, but in the game I played hard because I didn't want to let down the guys beside me. I played at a different level. I mean, everybody knows that. Everybody's ever come on and talks about it.
I've just never heard anyone admit to being a bad practice player.
Well, I wasn't a bad practice player. I just
didn't show up.
That's what I'm saying. You're just like, I didn't care. You're like Allen Iverson, the only other person that's ever admitted.
Talking about practice.
No. I mean, when I broke my snapping hand, I didn't. Obviously, you're not going to practice hard when you break your snapping hand. I snapped left-handed in the Iron Bowl my senior year because my other hand's broken. So what hand do you have to put up, T-Bob, when you snap with your left hand?
Oh, yeah.
The broken one.
Yeah, yeah, my broken hand. Wait, but Bill, do you think it's inevitable that those games go away that Wes is talking about there?
Wes has a good point. I don't know that they'll ever go away, but there might be less of them.
Yeah.
And that's what my biggest concern is.
No, I mean, it's how like Nicholls State, and, Northwestern State in Louisiana.
So, all those schools would, their programs would be in jeopardy unless we get 100 more channels and a bunch of more people watching TV, and they can get a deal on the side from those guys. But that's highly unlikely, and most of those guys don't have from what I see. They don't have the to make the negotiations or understand how that whole works. So to me that's my biggest concern of all this is the access for the small guy.
I like to. I mean, if I just want to be overly optimistic, I'd like to believe that, to kind of find a way, but it won't be how it is now.
But it's like the tail's wagging the dog now. The dog's not having any control of what's going on. And until we get some legislation, it's the only thing that can stop it. Because if anybody tries to change what's going on, they're going to get sued, and they're going to lose.
Yeah.
Until there's a law that changes that.
Sankey said it well today when he said we can't have the state of Alabama having different rules than the state of Nebraska
No question.
than the state of Oklahoma.
And so I
Can you imagine trying to get 12 state legislatures to agree to a plan?
Yeah.
That's a lot of lobbying investment right there.
Yeah, Sankey has what? He's fixing to have 10 states, I believe.
He said 11 going to be 12, I think, with
Is that what it
Oklahoma
is?
added in. Is that right?
Wow.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking, I'm hoping.
Good luck.
I have some information that they're working on some things in Washington,
Oh, really?
and I'm hoping that they'll get somewhere with that.
The Crimson Emperor. Coach Saban's shadow looms large. Even the White House is feeling it. Steps in D.C.
You guys remember when the last thing we wanted was Washington messing with college football?
But college,
now we're begging for it.
Now we're begging for it.
yeah, you just never know. You got
Life is funny.
watch what you wish for, but that's what's happening, and hopefully they can help, because right now it's out of control.
I mean, it's fascinating to me that in college football now we're talking about like the birth of economic markets and states' rights versus federal rights. Like we're having some real world conversations in relation to
Civics class.
a game that we all love.
So T-Bob, I've been lobbying to be one of the guys on the CFP, one of the what do you call them, the
Committee members.
committee members.
Okay, you should probably learn what they're called if you really want to, increase your chance of getting on the committee. But I don't know. I don't know. Who might have just?
He doesn't have DC connections.
No,
While we're here, Bill, I too would enjoy being on the committee. if you're open to it.
Well, since you're open.
I told Wes, I did not realize I could have told him you need to know what they're called.
Yeah.
But I've been telling Wes ever since we started the CFP that all he has to do is retire. And he kind of doesn't want to retire because you can't be an active media person.
well, I think there'd be a lot of people could testify in court that I'm not a very active media person.
I know nothing.
But I'm holding him to that, though. You never know what
You
happens.
never know. And we talked about Condoleezza being on there, and
Yeah.
Wes, I think.
Now
she's part owner of the Denver Broncos.
How about that? How about that?
The
She's
Broncos
awesome.
ownership group is a fascinating thing, too. You want to talk about the ultra-powerful getting together, right? It's got like a little Kroenke in there, a little Walmart in there. It's the American royalty coming together to buy the Broncos.
Oh, man.
Well, we've had a little bit of everything here in this first hour. Appreciate you guys stopping by.
I'm so sorry that y'all had Bill on, and then all I did was come in here and crack jokes. Bill, it's a real pleasure, man. It's been very fun.
It's been great, T-Bob. I knew I wouldn't have to talk. This is great.
Sorry, I've ruined y'all's content.
When y'all are back home and we do this on the phone, we need to get T-Bob on.
If he'll answer my text messages,
I know. I'm
He's busy.
sorry,
He's busy
dude. I
working
missed the
out.
last one, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah, see,
Does
he's
he-
on a bike
wait.
and I'm not.
Does he text you also?
Yes. Yeah. I know. Behind your
Text
back.
me. He texts me all the time. I'm like, Steve, call me or send me an email.
Yeah. I'm a big call guy. I'm maybe
you
a bit
don't
old.
You would
Respond
rather
that
me call you?
I would rather call. But then again, I'm not.
I don't know when you're babysitting.
No,
I
I
don't.
feel you. No. I'm just not the best at. I feel awful. Just be truthful about myself right now. I don't think I'm very thoughtful all the time when it comes to responding to people. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do that. And then I forget it. And then I feel bad about it.
You need to.
Yes, sir.
Is what he just admitted, is that like admitting you weren't a good practice player?
Yes. I think it's worse.
T-Bob Hebert, thank you so much, sir. Let's take time out. We'll be right back from Atlanta. SEC Media Days, hour number 2, day 1. See, we couldn't even stay on time for the first hour. We give a lot of grief to the stops down below, be it the Digital Room or Sirius XM, Marty and McGee, all the stops not staying on time, and then we ran over big time. But a big thank you to T-Bob Hebert as well as Bill Hancock for coming by here to close out our first hour. A big thank you also to all of our fine sponsors. Thank you very much for supporting our sponsors out there. If you are ever in need of their services, we certainly do appreciate you, your patronage of our sponsors that allow us to go out and about. Today was LSU, Ole Miss, and Missouri. We have heard from Brian Kelly, and certainly we've also heard from Lane Kiffin. Did not bring you, though, the opening comments from one Lane Kiffin, and thought I would share with you what Lane had to say in the big room earlier today.
All right, thanks, Commissioner. Excited to be here. You know, I always think that this kind of re-energizes, refreshes you about the season coming up here in the middle of the summer. You know, as you see other players, other coaches, or even as the TV was on before, coming up here on SEC Network, and just kind of reminds you that it's right around the corner. So our job is, I think, really challenging this year because on paper we may look, you know, like we should be decent because we filled a lot of holes with transfer portals. So that is a good system when you lose really good players and you haven't been somewhere long enough to develop a lot of classes of depth. So we are grateful for that, but at the same time, with everything good, there are challenges as well. And you have people coming from, you know, like I've said, kids coming from different parenting, and we got to put them all together as this blended family. So that is challenging, and in the fall camp, it won't just be about teaching X's and O's like it always is. You know, we have a lot of culture work to do that you don't really have to do as much because it's already established, because your best players normally have been in your program for a year or two. So look forward to that challenge.
That was the opening comment. Full 1 minute and 26 seconds of an opening statement from Lane Kiffin.
Very informative, and that's what I've been saying the whole time about, you know, how do you judge his team? Because of all that. I mean, like I said, every team in the West has talent and has good talent. But it's a box of chocolates, except for Alabama, who has a bunch of returning people. Of how they put it together, you just don't know. It's hard to predict. And then, you know, if somebody gets their quarterback hurt, including Alabama,
yeah,
that changes things.
Changes everything.
Yes. So I just think that it's the West has probably had as good as talent they ever had on every team. How they prepare and put it together and handle injuries will decide how many teams go to bowl games. And, you know, I think they're starting out the season, there's not much difference between everybody but Alabama.
LSU, Ole Miss, Missouri. Which team has the better team record-wise of those three teams?
Say them again.
LSU, Ole Miss, Missouri.
You know, I'm gonna say LSU. That's my feeling. I think Ole Miss has the biggest upside of all of them. But I don't like what Lane said. Not really what he said, how he said it. He's nervous about what he has, and he's preparing his fan base for, hey, yeah, we look like we should be good, but we might not be.
Is this maybe the?
Is that what I heard? That's what I heard from him.
Lou Holtz, poor mouth your team syndrome?
I don't think, no. Lane Kiffin does a good job of underestimating and saying if we do this, we do that. I mean, he's always done that. When he doesn't, he usually gets beat. Alabama last year. There's other, times he says certain things. but I think he's sincere. What I hear is, hey, they got all new coaches, all new. Everything's new. They got a new strength coach. Everything's new. There's nothing that these kids saw last year that is the same. All the coaches are different.
Same thing at Ole Miss.
That's what I'm saying. That's Ole Miss.
Ole Miss and LSU.
Yeah, this is true. But Lane's never had taken a team as a head coach to the playoffs. Brian has too. I just think that I'm going to stick with what I said. I think LSU have the better record. That's my prediction. I think Ole Miss though has the highest upside. Well, Ole Miss is only going to. I don't think LSU can win more than 8 games. I think Ole Miss could if they get on a roll. But after listening to him and the way he said it and thinking about all the different scenarios, and I think LSU has better players than Ole Miss. Can Brian Kelly bring them together? We'll see.
One big piece of that is Keyshawn Boutte. And
I mean, for all, have you heard he's not playing? I think he's playing.
In fact, he announced today that he received jersey number 7, which.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a change that is. That says volumes to me. That's incredible. So he's gone from we got to get to know each other better to being awarded by the coaches as the best player on offense, a leader on offense. That says something there.
Doesn't it?
Yes.
I thought that was, of what Kelly said in the main room, the most overlooked statement of what was said today.
Yes.
Because
who
of
got
how
number 18?
He didn't say that.
Yeah.
He didn't say that.
Well, 18 is the jersey they give to the biggest leader on the team.
Yeah.
No matter if it's on offense or defense.
Now, I thought that was going to be the next question, and it wasn't.
Yeah. So
I guess Drew didn't get a chance to ask that question right after, because at least it was on my mind as soon as I heard that Keyshawn Boutte ends up with jersey number 7. I thought, wow, that's a big deal.
Yes, it is.
Because there was plenty of time when we thought he was going into the transfer portal and potentially going to Tuscaloosa. Potentially.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought that a lot of people thought that that's where he was going, but he wasn't eligible. So
minor detail.
Yeah. But I'm happy that he's at LSU, and I hope he does well. I mean, and maybe Brian Kelly's the best thing that ever happened to him.
We have a quick segment on the other side of our first time out before we hand things over to the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference. So let's go ahead and take an early timeout. We'll be back here live from SEC Media Days.